everyone. Come on in because we are here to talk about another hot topic. Y'all have been asking me to talk about this Dear Future Wifey wedding that went on maybe, I don't know, has it been a month ago? And, at first I wasn't going to talk about it because, I really didn't have too much to say about it. I know that earlier on I did a video. I don't know if you guys watched it when he first announced the engagement. It was all about this hidden bride thing. And I don't know, I wasn't with that. I really was not with that. And I kept saying, what is this all about? Is this all about him? Why would he keep the bride silenced or in the background, a picture of a hand? I wasn't with it. I really wasn't with it. And all I could hold on to was, I guess she agreed to it, right? Because I'm quite sure he's not out here doing this promo for the wedding without her. And then I thought, well, maybe he's also trying to get promotions for the wedding, trying to get people to pay for the wedding, people to sponsor the wedding. He gonna make a little bit of money off the wedding, and who knows, maybe he did with that, nice wedding video. But I didn't know who the young lady was that he got married to. Fast forward, here we are. She's been revealed. The bride reveal has been revealed. And she seems like a very nice lady, very well accomplished, very beautiful, seems to have a lovely spirit. And as always, you guys know I love love. So I'm never going to have anything negative to say about two people falling in love. I'm wishing well. Now, and I might be yelling and screaming with couples who I don't feel should be together prior to marriage, but after they make the decision to be together and make the commitment to each other and profess their love together, I'm one of them type of people. I'm going to be on the bandwagon. I sure am. I'm going to root for you. I'm going to pray for you. And in this case, with Dear Future Wifey and his wife, I don't even know her name, to be honest with you. I'm going to root for them. I'm going to pray for them. So I really hadn't planned on really doing a video about it. But you know what got my attention, y'all, was when I saw a clip that they split their wedding costs 50-50. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Here it is. Here it is. How many times are we on here talking about, or people are out on the YouTube world or the social media talking about, they don't want no 50-50 marriage. If you can't pay my bills, you're not worth everything. Even men running around putting the pressure on a lot of men to say that until you can be the full financial provider of a household, you shouldn't get married. And I have continuously pushed back across these narratives. Two narratives that I push back on. One, the narrative that a man needs to wait to get married until he can pay all the bills in the household and his wife can have a soft life. I don't like that narrative. I think it is prolonging men from getting married. I have a real problem with it. The other one I'm pushing back on is this idea that women should be waiting for a man in which she doesn't have to use any of her money to pay any household bills, and that she doesn't want a 50-50 relationship or whatever they're going to call it out here these days. I push back on those two things. I think anyone out here who's buying into that narrative of, one, the man needs to be the sole financial provider, or a woman who says, what good are you in my life unless you're paying all my bills? I think those two people, if they are single and they are wanting to get married, I'm not talking about people who don't want to get married. If you're not interested in getting married, I'm not talking to you. So don't be getting upset. Don't be dropping down in my comments. But if it is something that you're looking for, if you're one of those people out here and you're prescribing to any of these two narratives, you are selling yourself short and you are shooting yourself in the foot and you are sabotaging your own happiness if marriage, children, family, two-parent household is what you want. You see what I'm saying? And I found it so interesting that coming from this Dear Future Wifey, Latarius Whitfield, that he actually participated in a wedding in which it it was split 50-50. I was fascinated by it. How did we get here? Like I tell you, all of this stuff out here, I wish this could be the mantra. I know 2026 is coming up and everybody's going to be making New Year's resolutions about what they want to do differently in 2026. Well, I hope there's a couple of people out here who decide that in 2026, they're going to stop letting other people dictate to them what makes them happy. You know what I'm saying? I wish people would stop going on YouTube, social media, looking at some of these fake lies, Wendy Osefo, all these people whose lives are falling apart, and telling you that you need to fashion your life, build your life, your relationship, your marriage off of someone else's marriage. First of all, every marriage is different. Every union is different. You must develop and craft a plan that works for your marriage. There is no plug and play. You can't come over here and ask me what I do with my husband, my household, my family, and then think you're going to take our household plan, our marital plan, and plug it and play it in your house. I don't agree. I don't prescribe to that. That's why I say stop listening to other people. If you find yourself a partner, the two of you should sit down and figure out what's best for you. And if you're coming up with all these rules and regulations and boundaries because you don't want a struggle life and you want the soft life, and you're keeping yourself away from a larger happiness and whichever it is what you want, whether that is marriage and family, that's on you. That's on you that you're listening to the wrong people. But it was interesting to hear the story of Letarius and his wife. And what was further interesting was their love story. I always love listening to people's love story. How did you meet? How did you fall in love? How did you get to this point? It's one of the things that I enjoy listening to. So I know with Letarius, one of the cornerstones of his channel is that men need to be intentional if they want to find a wife. And I've always agreed with him on that. That's one of the reasons why I've said it doesn't take a man 4 or 5 years to figure out if he wants to marry you. Once a man is intentional that he wants to get married, period, not married to you, married, period, his process of finding a wife should not take that long. It should not. And I know Letarius said that he's been on a journey to find a wife and be married by the end of 2025. And it sounds like he met his goal. I know a lot of people may not like the fact that he set a goal and then he married this woman as if maybe it feels too crafted. It feels a little bit too curated. Well, the truth of the matter is a lot of times marriage is curated. It's crafted. In some societies, marriage is arranged, prearranged. There's no more curation going on than an arranged marriage. So I don't have a problem with him saying that in a year I want to be married. In fact, I think everyone should do it. I really do. I think everyone should set a goal and say, within a year, I'm going to be married. Within 2 years, I'm going to be married. Not if I meet someone, I'll get married. No. Because I'm of the belief that all of these people that are marriage minded and marriage ready, some of them are already in your orbit. A lot of people believe that they haven't come across their match, that's why they're not married. No, you've come across people who you probably could have been compatible with, who you could have been married to if you wanted to work out your differences. Now, you might have noticed there were differences with you. Absolutely. There's differences with every couple. The difference between people with differences who are single and people with differences who get married is because the people who are married have decided to work through their differences in marriage. That's why it's called, in the end, it's called divorce, because now what they're saying is we no longer want to reconcile our differences. That's why it's called irreconcilable differences. It's saying we are no longer willing or believe that we can work through our differences. They're irreconcilable. What it means is everyone always is going to have differences. Everyone is waiting for the perfect partner, the partner to come along with no red flags. No one out here is walking around with 0 red flags. We've all got them. I've got several. You've got several. So this idea that you're waiting for a person with 0 red flags, they're not going to come. It's very possible, just like with Letarius, that the partner you want, you need, that you could work through and work with in a marriage is already in your orbit. We found out with Latarius that this young lady actually was on his podcast back in December of 2024. Hear me out. He had interviewed her on his show, and he so-called called himself being a matchmaker for her. They had been friends for over a year and a half, and they had somehow put each other in the friend zone. You hear what I'm saying? So imagine this. You have two very good-looking people, two marriage-minded people, two successful people, two people who are both at a point in their life where they want to get married, they want to have kids, but yet with each other, they put each other in a friend zone. How about that? Even once he decided he wanted to get married, he didn't even need to go outside his existing orbit to find a suitable woman. This is why I don't buy into the fact that when men say they really do want to find a wife, they really want to settle down, and they say, but I can't find one, I never believe it. I never believe it. There are women walking around all the time. And in fact, to be honest with you, I don't always believe it with women. Now, I can believe it more so with women that they can't find a person, because typically it is the man that has to be the one that proposes to a woman. She doesn't get to, extend a proposal. So she still has to wait for a guy to be able to propose to her. But the idea that people are walking around for 10, 15, 20 years and saying that over the course of 20 years, you've never met a person in which you should have been able to partner with, work through differences with, and establish a bond with, I don't believe it. There are other things going on with you internally that is preventing you from bonding, reconciling differences with another person. And that's why when I offer individual coaching to people, it's not about how you can go out and find some other person. It's about how do you work on those things internally so that you are actually more compatible with more people. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of going out and trying to find the one match, your person, the one person in the world that you can get along with, why don't you make yourself more versatile, learn how to work through differences with people so that you actually have the ability to pair and mate with different types of people. You want to increase your opportunity. You don't want to limit it, but so many people they approach the dating world in the wrong way. They continually look for other people to be perfect for them versus working on that parts of yourself that sometimes can be incompatible with multiple people. Sometimes people are incompatible with a lot of people. Maybe you should work on your own compatibility so that you might find it easier to, sort of pair with someone. But like I said, I think what I really wanted to talk about today was this concept around the whole idea about how money is shared. And I really want to take this opportunity to really bust some myths around this, because I think it's got a lot of people in a chokehold. And somehow or another, maybe it's because I tend to watch more news or social media surrounding the Black community. So maybe I feel like it's a little bit more permeating the Black community in a toxic way. And I almost feel as if it's so toxic in the Black community for women to be walking around talking about, I don't want to be dealing with no man who's 50-50, or saying that if he can't pay all my bills, then why do I need him? And I can do bad all by myself. None of this even makes any logical sense. If you are a single lady and you are currently paying all your bills, and then you meet a guy that, although he's not financially stable enough to be able to pay all your bills, he is financial enough that he can come and you guys can form a household and you could go whatever you want to go, 50-50, 70-30. How is that not a win for you? How if your rent or your mortgage is $2,500 a month and you get with a person and they can pay $1,200 and you can pay $1,200, how is that not a win for you? When is the last time you got a $1,200 a month increase on a raise at your job? You know, people are running all around here screaming and yelling, trying to get their bosses to give them a 10% raise, a 5% raise a year. But you have people turning their noses up at partnership, which basically means your household income could double in 1 year, but you can't find a way to get along in a household together. This is really pulling the Black community apart. This is diminishing not only current wealth in our households, it's diminishing future wealth in our household. So I really hope that Latarius and his new wife, they start using their marriage as an example to say that some of this stuff doesn't make any sense. You know, Latarius told the story of how they even got to the point of where they paid 50-50 for the wedding. He said they were, you know, she was on the dating show in 2024, helping her find a mate, you know, and in February of 2024, Latarius said he had a dream. He had a dream about the same young lady that she was about to marry another person. This was a dream he had about his friend. And he said he woke up angry. And he said, how could I be so angry about the thought of my so-called friend marrying a different person? And it's just a dream. That's what made him act on this sort of internal emotion that he was having. And he said, hey, let's go out and have a date. And they went out and had a date in March, right after he had the dream. And sure enough, between March and the end of this year or whatever, a couple of months ago, they got married, all very fast. Now, along the way, he tells us that he was holding on to some of his own beliefs, that a man should be the provider, he should pay everything. And according to him, he had set aside some money to pay for the wedding. He had a budget. His budget, I guess, was somewhere around $50,000. Well, lo and behold, when they started talking about the wedding, he wanted to get married in Texas. And in Texas, it was only going to cost $50,000. But she's from LA. She's from a high cost area. And her family and friends and her whole network is in LA. She's never been married before. He's been married before. And she said, I want to get married in LA around my friends and my family. And I want to get married at a venue in which I love. This is my only wedding. It's my first wedding. I want the wedding of my dreams. And so she said, well, the wedding was going to be $150. He don't have $150 to put down on a wedding. He said, that's not my budget. She said, don't worry about it. I'll put in the other 50%. She put in the other 50% to have the wedding she wanted, which is the same thing I say about 50-50 on bills, whatever it is. It's to have the life that you want. Why are you holding yourself back from a life that you could want, all so that you can uphold the words through traditions, the rules of some YouTuber or some social media person who says your man ain't shit unless he can pay all your bills. And if you in a 50-50 relationship, you're in a struggle marriage, you're in a struggle love. Stop letting people control your happiness. I don't even know how women got here, honestly. We have fought for years, decades, for equal place in the workplace, equal footing in the workplace, equal pay. It doesn't even make sense logically that women could be fighting for equal pay, access to the same types of jobs, not being kept out of positions or high-level positions, but still think we could still request men who all make more than us. I'm going to tell you, I've been working a very, very, very long time, and I've worked around some very smart women, some very high-powered women, and I can honestly tell you that the vast majority of the women that I've ever worked around all make more money than their men. And I don't work around Black women. I'm in engineering. I've probably only worked with 2 Black women in my whole life. And of the women I've worked with, from Asians to Middle Eastern people, to white women, to Black women, The vast majority, 80% of those women who were in those high positions, who made that good money, they made more money than their husbands. But yet we've got YouTubers running around here telling you about that struggle up. And they've got Black women specifically believing that they can't go 50-50 in a marriage. They can't go 30-70. It's just not true. It's bondage. It's bondage to keep Black families from thriving, from forming. Is to keep us separated in these two households. So when you get laid off, you're all alone. You have no one to support you. You see, it really is sad to see what's going on. And let me tell you, I hope that Latarius and his wife uses their platform, their notoriety, their fame in order to break some of these men. They're just getting started in their marriage. I suspect a lot of the topics that Latarius had on his show, I hope he breaks a few of his own rules. Now that he's gone 50-50 on this wedding, he even called it toxic masculinity. He said he had to get over the fact that she wanted a wedding that was more than what he wanted to pay for or could pay for. I don't know. He had to let it go because what he realized was that wasn't going to make his wife happy. A lot of women want men to make more money or make all the money, but yet they're not willing to live up underneath the budget of that man. You see what I'm saying? Because even if you want your man to make all the money, you could do that. You could do that. Go find you a man. And no matter what he's making, live up underneath that budget. There you go. Then you got a man that pays all the bill. But most of you don't want to live up underneath that budget. That's the problem. That's the problem, you see. So I hope that, everyone spends some time and really uses 2026 to educate themselves. But I want to go over a few things that I was reading as I was thinking about doing this YouTube video, because I think there's a lot of myths, a lot of fear around money and financing when it comes to marriage. And there's just a lot of people believing these fake stories. But if you really listen to the real stories of people, it's nothing like what you hear about the soft life. It's nothing like that. And I was reading this BuzzFeed and it started talking about the different ways in which married couples or couples, period, not even married, handle their bills, right? And there's different ways. I mean, some people have one joint account where all the money goes into one pot. Some people have one person has each person of the couple has separate bank accounts, but then they have one joint account. And then there's also people who have completely separate bank accounts. You see, don't feel as if you have to follow one way in your relationship. Don't try to be a follower of other people. Craft your own road to your happiness and what works for you and your partner. But I want to read a couple of scenarios because I think this myth that women don't make more than men out here in a lot of the situations is crazy, crazy business. Here's one scenario of a woman saying, I make more than my boyfriend, which means they're not married. I also have 3 children from a previous marriage who live with us full time. I never thought it was fair to split the bills 50-50. He pays 1/3 of the rent and 1/4 of the utilities and food. Okay? And that's the way that they work out their family finances. That's a scenario number 1. Another person says, we contribute based on our portion of the household income. This is scenario number 2. So instead of 50-50, it's closer to 65-35. I make 65% of our combined income, so I contribute more to the bills. Okay, that's Courtney. That was scenario number 2. Scenario number 3. My fiance and I are in a bit of a strange situation. He is an American, so in order for us to be together, he had to get a U.S. visa. And now we're waiting for his work permit to process. So essentially, he will have 0 income and I will be paying 100% of the bills. Okay? That's a woman talking, obviously. Okay? Scenario number 4. For my wife and I, which means this is a man talking, I'm the only income earner. I make enough to provide for my family, maintain a good home, and for us to live comfortably. My wife takes care of the house, she cooks, and takes care of the homeschooling for both of our daughters. She homeschooling. She is a grade teacher, so she working, okay? Scenario number 5. Call me old-fashioned, but I just put everything in one account. And my wife does the same. We both consult with each other about spending money, and each of our wants are weighed carefully, and we don't keep count because we trust each other's spending habits. Okay? Number 6, my husband made $115,000 a year, and I make, though she said her ex-husband, so this was her last scenario, and I made around $40,000 by the time that we divorced. While we were married, our paychecks were both deposited into a joint account. That's how they handled their money. Scenario number 7, I make $70,000 a year and my fiance makes $35,000. I work a very busy 8 to 6, and he is a music teacher who works from 3 to 8. We just share everything. Another woman making twice as much as her husband. Number 8, we have one income in the house right now, and the cost of living where we are allows us to live semi-comfortably because we both budget. I'm lucky in that I have a very small inheritance I can dip into for emergencies. Otherwise, we'd be sunk. Okay? Number 9, my husband and I don't share bank accounts at all. I make around 4 times more than him. So I pay for all the bills, groceries, and $700 more a month for our rent. There you go. Another woman making 4 times more. And all these people are not Black women. I'm on BuzzFeed, just in case some of y'all was wondering. Number 10, when my wife and I first moved in together, we were both living paycheck to paycheck as full-time students. After graduating, getting married over the last decade or so, we've gotten better incomes. But as soon as we were married, I told her I would just direct deposit my paycheck to her account. That's how they handle it. Number 11, well, we're a boomer and Gen X couple, but whoever is making more money works while the other stays at home with the children, which means they flip-flop back and forth. Okay? 12, I make over twice what my husband makes. We each contribute 65% of our income to a joint bank account. This covers our mortgage bills, groceries, dining out, pet expenses, vacations, etc., things we do together. The remaining 35% of our incomes is our personal spending, and we don't have any access or oversight to that money. Okay. And the reason I'm bringing this up because Latarius Whitfield also has a lot of conversation around financial infidelity, how money should be split. There's never one way to do things. And this is what I want people to take a hold of in 2026. It is good to go to social media, in the internet, AI, whatever you want to discover different ways of crafting your relationship. But it doesn't mean that you have to follow exactly what someone says you should follow. And in fact, in most marriages, financial situations can change throughout long marriages. You could start off making less than your husband. I never understood that. I never understood when a woman who went to college, got degrees with an S, wanted to make all this money, then decides, I only want to marry a man who makes more than me. So what does that mean? What if when you meet him and you marry him, he's making more than you? But what if you thrive in your career, on your job, in that business you're starting? Does that mean you've got to limit your income potential so you can keep this system you said you want, which is you want him to make more? What happens when you get a raise? Do you got to go to him and say, hey, I got a $5,000 raise. You're going to need to get a raise. Is this a competition? How does that even work? How is this tit for tat thing even working? Like I said, a lot of people, y'all keeping yourself from your happiness over some really, really petty stuff. Number 13, my husband and I have separate accounts and a household account. So they have separate accounts plus a household account. My husband pays most of our bills because he earns 5 times more than me. He's in tech and I'm in a nonprofit. She says, I pay for all food and I buy all home convenience things like coffee makers and blenders. Okay. 14, I make 90,000 and he makes 30. It's another woman talking. She makes 90, he makes 30. Basically, I pay all the bills and he gives me his check minus maybe $500 to pay credit card bills. Okay. Are y'all getting the point? I'm going to keep going. It's about 23 of these, so hang on. Number 15, my partner and I put everything into shared accounts and pay out of that. Though I make less than half of what he makes, I still see our contributions as equitable because of what we bring to our household and relationship. Number 16, my husband makes more money, but he has much more debt from student loans. I often talk about this. She says, I don't have any debt except our mortgage. So sometimes I can manage more of the household bills. I often talk about this. That is it all about your gross income or your net income? What about a guy you meet and that guy makes $75,000 gross, but yet he has student loan debt and he has child support that he has to pay to another household for previous children. So his net income is not $75,000 versus a guy who makes $75,000, but he doesn't have any debt. You see, a lot of people are too busy out here talking about gross income and not net income. People need to educate themselves. People out here making big life decisions about not who they're going to marry, about who they're not going to marry, who they're not going to partner with, who they're not going to respect as a man because of the fact that the man does not make as much as them. Number 17, my husband and I both added up our individual expenses, including what we agreed was reasonable for us to have as our personal spending each month for things like clothes. I want to buy lunches out, etc. That's her personal spending. We set that aside in our individual accounts and then put everything else in our shared checking account. Number 18, my husband and I got married young and poor, and we did it the old-fashioned way. We both work, and everything we make goes into one account, and bills get paid out of that. Number 20, I'm married and happen to be in a line of work that pays a lot more money than my husband's ministry position. Our income is probably 80% me, 20% him. Everything we both make goes into our joint account, and every expense we have is paid from that joint account. Number 21, my second husband made about 3 times what I did at the time. Since he already had a house when we met, I eventually moved in there. We decided to have him pay the mortgage, and I paid for the consumables, electricity, gas, and water. I also bought groceries unless we were having a big party, and then he would. Number 22, when my husband and I got married, I brought some money from previous part-time work and gifts from my parents into the relationship, but I was a housewife for years, and he had a full-time job. And lastly, number 23, and finally, when my partner and I moved in together in 2003, he made $40,000 a year, and I only made $12 an hour. We decided to split shared expenses based on take-home pay, and we have a spreadsheet with all our shared bills, including rent, utilities, groceries, a shared phone family plan with Netflix, and a joint savings plan for home expenses. The point of this, she said, for a few years, they contributed more like 60-40, but now she makes $80,000 at a job, and now that they've agreed that he should quit his his job as well. Some other information here. But the point I'm trying to make is in 2026, Stop believing that there is only one way to do things. Stop believing there's only one person out there for you. Make yourself more adjustable. Make yourself more flexible. Make yourself be the person that you're able to work out things with a variety of different people, so that if you really do want to go on to get married and have children, you can actually pair with different types of people. Take yourself out of the box where people have told you that one way is the only way to have marriage and children. Because right here, we got Laterris Whitfield and his wife, who, from what we talked about on his podcast, used to give out a lot of rules and regulations surrounding around what marriage looks like, what men need to do, what women need to do. And here we are already. He just got married and he's already broken one of his rules. You see what I'm saying? You see, a lot of people aren't even doing what they say they're going to do. A lot of these people who are talking are not even living those lives. And when they finally are in a position to live that life, they find themselves making different decisions. I really do hope that they share more of their love story, their love journey, even their marriage journey. And I hope what they use their platform is not to actually spew out more propaganda about what marriage should look like, but instead help people navigate the various options in marriage. Marriage is not limited. Your life with your partner will not be limited. Different things will be thrown at you daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. You actually have to be really good at navigating the obstacles. You can't have one game plan, because the minute you have one game plan, something comes in and throws a wrench in that plan, and you have to be willing to adjust. So I wish them well. I think they're a beautiful couple. They seem like they're in love. And I'm believing that they have all the foundation they're going to need to have a successful marriage. But most importantly, what you need to be successful in marriage is you need two people who are willing to work through your differences. You're willing to continue to reconcile your differences. You're not looking to come to the marriage perfect. No one is your perfect match. You're not perfect. They're not perfect. You have to be willing to work on those areas of yourself in which it is incompatible in the relationship, but you got to find a way so that you can both make those areas, smooth them out, and be compatible. But that's all I got to say about them. Hopefully this helps somebody going forward in 2026. But that's all I got. Talk to y'all later. Bye.